Since starting Evolve Learning Design and taking on freelancing work, the one thing that's really astounded me is how much the whole kind of everyone uses Storyline or everyone uses Captivate is kind of very true in-house, but totally not the case in the freelance world. Now, one of the first authoring tools I picked up outside of those sort of big two was Adapt and then Evolve. And since then, I've got to say, it's become a little bit of an addiction, kind of looking at different authoring tools, figuring out what they can do, what they offer versus others. And a little while ago, actually last year at this point, I came across an authoring tool called Chameleon Creator. A relatively new player in the field, but I think doing something really great. In this video, I'm going to take a quick look at what their platform currently offers as they've just released some brand new interactions. So when I'm looking for a new authoring tool, I'm always looking for something that does something that no one else is doing, certainly no one else in my current tech stack. I don't really have any interest in having another Storyline, another Captivate, another iSpring, another Evolve. But there are some points of commonality that I'm looking for. First thing, I'm looking for a company that cares about UI. I want their product to be easy to use. In 2022, I want it to be cloud-based. I don't want to have to transfer files all over the place and worry about corruption or whether or not something's going to happen to it somewhere, or whether it's going to end up stuck on a computer with no internet connection for a week somewhere. I also want to see a commitment to things like accessibility. I want to see a commitment to forward-looking technologies, not just supporting SCORM 1.2, for example. I want to see a commitment to forward-thinking in terms of UX and UI for the user. So I want to see responsive and eventually adaptive designs. I want to see designs that don't take 3 hours to make look passable. And I want to see, more than anything else, a company that is trying to innovate. But that's enough of me opining about the industry. Let's dive onto the computer and take a look at Chameleon Creator. So Chameleon Creator is a totally online solution. You access it via their website. When you go there, you can just hit the sign in button, you sign in, and it brings you to the homepage, which you see here. Now, at the moment, they have this, which is their old user interface and their new user interface, which you can click to try out. However, at the moment, I am very much staying with the old one because active projects and not worth the risk and all that kind of thing. But the point being, their project management is really good. You can search, you can organize things into folders. You can also set up organizations within your instance. This means that if you're working with multiple clients, you can have that sorted out, no problem at all. Let's start a new project and have a look at what the authoring experience is like. So to create a new course, it immediately asks me to name it. So let's just say this is the IDT demo, and it gives me the option to sort of write the description. So I'm just going to put metadata ahoy, which is what this will end up being for. So let's create that course. So there we are. We can see now this is loaded up. So if I just click on that, here I've got all the basic controls for the setup of the course. The module title, the description, the URL slug, which is quite nice that I can edit manually, and tags. Tags just allow it to be easier to find and search for when you've got potentially, I guess, hundreds of courses here once you get using it. You can also have user level control, i.e. I am the owner of this course, but then I could add other users or other owners who I want to be able to edit this. I can also add assets to this course using the asset manager, which at the moment is empty because there's nothing in this course, but it means I can upload to this ahead of time if I have all my assets. And similarly, once I've built this course, I could come in here and pull out assets that are required for other things in the future. So it becomes quite a nice little repository for those kinds of projects. From here, you can also see that I can make this project a template. That's great because I can just use it repeatedly if I know I'm going to be using the same kind of menu system or interactions, whatever it might be. I can set that preview requires authentication. Basically, they have to log in to be able to view the preview of the course. Really handy if you're trying to work behind NDAs or something like that. Then you can preview the course from here. You can download the course from here, which is effectively the same as publishing it. You can duplicate it and you can delete it. But what we want to do right now, as we're just starting out, is edit the project. So when we open up the editor, you'll see that it's one of the simplest user interfaces around when it comes to authoring tools. All your controls are over here on the left-hand side, whilst the majority of the right-hand side kind of has this faux browser look to it. This is basically what the user's going to end up seeing. So you're going to end up being able to have effectively a live preview sat just over here. You can see here you've got your general top bar, back button pre-put in, topic titles, a logo in the center, a hamburger menu, a progress bar, and then this big empty space. So let's go over the basics. The structure of every course in Chameleon is topics and interactions. Topics are the same as scenes in Storyline, or funnily enough, topics in Adapt or Evolve. They're basically your groupings of individual screens. Your interactions are then your individual screens. In this sense, it's a little bit different to something like Rise, where you can kind of just put block after block after block on the same page. This takes a slightly different route that I think offers quite a nice, slightly different look and feel. We have quite a lot now of block editors that are very similar to Rise, really just kind of copying Rise, and Chameleon very much haven't gone down that route. Now, some of the things I really like are actually down at the bottom here in this quick menu area. You've got a preview for the full module. You can export the module here, but you've got these advanced settings and notifications and course settings. What this actually allows us to do is set a few global settings. So if we go into course settings, we can see I can actually set all the standard colors for the course right here that will then just be applied to everything. Background color, text colors, button colors. I can go across to the user interface and define what kind of buttons we're going to have and how the progress bar is going to be there or not, and whether or not there's going to be a back button or a topic menu. So many things I can just set here. Menu design. That little hamburger menu up in the corner, I can now decide what the background is, the text color, the hover, the active cover. This is really quite a good level of control for a template-based authoring tool. The typography section, we're able to choose our fonts here. So they have a whole host of inbuilt fonts to start with, but then you can also upload your own. And here you can change the colors for hyperlinks specifically, because it will automatically manage that for you based on these settings. For me, something like this is a bit like a very cut down, slimmed down and simplified version of Evolve's theming process. I love this. It's so quick, so easy, and once you've done it, remember you can create templates we saw before. You can get this set up, get your menu sorted out, create a template, and you're ready to go for a whole project. So those are the kind of course theme global settings, and then here in the advanced settings you actually have pages for things like when someone returns and bookmarking engages, this is what they see. Do you want to add a different picture? Do you want to change the message? The same for if the module has audio. This will pop up. Let's put that in. I love this little touch from an accessibility standpoint. So simple, so small, and yet how many others have got this? Yes, you could build it in manually, but to have this just automatically be like, hey, there's audio in this module, I better tell them, oh, by the way, how do you want that screen to look? Fantastic. Again, Chameleon does a great job of taking decisions out of your hands, but not decisions that are going to bother you. In some tools, you give up total control in order for ease of use. Here, I think they've got the balance a little bit closer to correct, where I actually still have a lot of control, but it's not going to let me do anything too stupid. So with that quick tour out of the way, let's start adding some functionality. So over here, it's created a topic for us already, and the whole UI is very much kind of click to do a thing. So let's say I wanted to rename topic 1, I could just click in over here, and maybe we'll call this the introduction. And you can see now that's changed here, and it's also changed over here on the current topic section of the top bar. Next up, let's add an interaction, a page. It's looking very empty over here at the moment. As this is an empty page, we could click this to add something, but over here you can also click to add interactions, and here you can see the current selection of interactions. Now I can tell you, compared to when I first started using Chameleon, this has grown massively, like much quicker than you would expect from an authoring tool. So a lot of these are things we're familiar with. So images, cards. I love this cards interaction because it's not flip cards. It's actual, just laid out cards on the screen that you can arrange in different orders. You can have images or text or buttons in them or any combination thereof. Really fantastic. A bit like building a comic book, I always think. That's how I tend to think of them. We can add text, we can add video and audio, we can embed things from elsewhere. Obviously, all the usual problems with iframes and embedding continue to be here. They will inevitably get blocked by firewalls and LMSs, so I would always advise against it, but each to their own. We spoke about audio, PDFs, so you have a really nice interaction for putting PDFs into courses, either as downloads or actually as visible, previewable documents there in the authoring tool. There's a whole rating system where people can offer your course a rating within it. For that to really work, obviously you need to hook up to their hosting platform, but it's there for use anyway. You've got a topic portal. This is a bit like an automated menu system. You've got a results slide, and you've got text entry. Text entry, as you can see here, is brand new, and actually allows you to fill in some text and then send it to a designated endpoint. It could be an email address, an LRS, whatever it could be. Then we've got our more kind of interactive elements. We've got flip cards, we've got a carousel, we've got accordions, we've got click to reveals, we've got the landing page. This is new, so a landing page that can link to external resources or other interactions in your module, so kind of like a mini menu. We've got a matching exercise, and we've got hotspots, and then down here in red we have our kind of quizzing and assessment, where we have multiple choice with media, sortation, sliders, drop downs, and a hotspot quiz. Adding an interaction is super easy. Let's say we want to add, I want to add some cards just because I love them so much. Let's create that. There we go. We now have an interaction. We now have a screen in our course. Over here on the left, you can see the context menu has changed, and we now have all of the available settings for this. Now, these are the settings at this level. If I were to click into one of these, it would change and just give me the options for that card. But you've always got this breadcrumb at the top, so I can go from this content card to the content cards and then back to home if I need to. If I want to go in and edit, I can click the styling button. If I want to duplicate it, I can hit this button here. And if I want to delete it, I can just hit that. If I want to rename it, same as with the topic, I can click in there and say cards, and we'll call this the first step. There we are, we've now named it. Now you may have noticed this topic settings line here. So just as we had global course settings, we can also set global topic settings, and they're somewhat similar. So if I go into styling there, you can see I can change background and secondary background, the text color, I can insert a background image, I can hide this topic from the menu. That's great if you want to have areas of the course that are sectioned off but that they can't skip to using the menu. We can hide it from the topic portal as well, and we can hide from next and back navigation. So basically, by utilizing all of those or a combination of them, you can kind of hide away a little bit of a course in the form of a topic for very specific circumstance. Super easy, just with 3 clicks. Really nice, simple way of doing what could otherwise be kind of variables and triggers and all sorts of things going on. So let's go back to the cards interaction and have a look at what we can do. Obviously, we can change the background colors, we can change the color of text, and we can insert a background image. We could also add audio to any screen, which is great. And then we are given 4 standard layout options: 2 columns, 2 columns reversed, 1 column, and 1 column reversed. So currently we're in 1 column, so we have some content at the top, our interaction in the middle, and a continue button, or navigation button I should say, at the bottom. Now if I were to say 2 columns reversed, it would reorder them like this, so that we have all the cards down one side, this content on the other, and at the bottom our navigational button. Now obviously this isn't particularly helpful, so let's go back to 1 column, but let's go 1 column reversed. So again, we've got content at the top, cards in the middle, navigation button at the bottom. Now as you can see, when I click into the content box, it tells me basically what I can put in here, and for here it's basically going to be text. If I go back, we can then see that below the standard layout, I have the option of how many navigational buttons do I want. Now, navigational buttons refer to these ones down here at the bottom, not the ones inside the cards. So for instance, I might want 1 option to continue and 1 option to return to the main menu if this was the last screen maybe in this topic. Down here, we have different options for how we lay out the actual cards. So we could go masonry style, we could have them in a grid. We could have banner and columns, so that the one at the top's really big and everything else is smaller. We could go masonry, so that they're all different sizes based on the content they hold in them. Here we can see I can very quickly add additional cards, and equally I can remove them, though with a little warning to make sure I really want to do that. Just below that, I can change the number of columns that cards are organised into. So this is really handy, especially if, as I mentioned before, you're looking at that kind of comic book approach. You can really utilise this to kind of change multiple pages of cards up to look a little bit different. You can change whether or not the cards have background colours, whether or not they're just white, or whether or not they're going to be, I don't know, red, let's say. You can change opacity. You can change the text colour. You can decide whether or not it has an outline and what the border radius is. So if we were to keep going with the border radius, they would just obviously gradually get thicker and thicker. And then we have image position. So in each of these cards, there's an image. They default to top, but equally we could make them go to the right, to the bottom, left. We could have none in them at all. Below that, we decide, do we want to include text in there? Maybe there's no text either. Do we want to include a button? No, let's get rid of that. Do we want to include a shadow? No, we don't want to include a shadow. We've now got kind of empty boxes with just a content point in each one, so slightly pointless, but you can see the level of control you have over these pre-built interactions. Now when it comes to navigation, let's go over and just click on the button that we want to look at. We have obviously the global defaults applied here that we set in the course settings, but here you can see that you can change everything on a one-off basis as well. You can just use the larger button size if it suits your design better. You could just have a button outline here but not elsewhere. You could add a button shadow even though your others don't have them, or you could make this one a completely different shape. The important thing, of course, with UI is to offer a consistent user experience, which is why I like the course settings so much, but we all know there are situations where you step away from that now and then. Most importantly here, you have this navigation option down here. Now, rather than writing triggers or anything like that, when you change the navigation of a button, you click on navigation and you just come in here and you tell it where it's going. If it's external, you come over here and you put in a URL and you add your alternative text. If not, you select where it's going. If it's a general action, next, exit, set module to complete and exit, you select from here. And if it's a location, all the topics will be laid out in these black boxes and all the interactions will be listed inside. You just click the one you want it to go to, add your alt text for the button, and click save and close. That's it. Done. That button then is finished. There's nothing more to do. You're then ready to go back and say, okay, let's add another interaction. So those are the basics, but we also have, as you may have noticed, add assessment. So when we add an assessment, it actually does a lot of the work for us of setting up an effective quiz, at least in terms of the sort of functionality. So you can see here, we automatically get an introductory screen with an image and a little space for some content and a continue button. And then we get our first question. They've given us a multiple choice question. We can then just keep adding more and more and more questions as we go down. These are our assessment types here. So then we can go in, just like before, we have all the same sets of options so that we can make this look just as nice as everything else in our course. Now, what we also have is a results screen already set up for us. Now, one of the things that I really like about this is the number of kind of variations and how you can approach this. You can give a set number of attempts, but you could also have these learn more by question buttons. So not only will it say, hey, sorry, you didn't get to, 80%, therefore you haven't passed. It'll say, hey, you didn't get to 80%. Here are the exact questions you got wrong. Do you want to try them again now, or do you want to learn more about them first? And then you can say, hey, look, if you got question 1 wrong and you click learn more, here's where I want you to go, advanced navigation, and I'd like you to go back to first step. So now, whenever that question's wrong, we have the option to go, hey, let's learn more, and jump back. Again, none of this is stuff you can't do on other systems, but they just make it so easy. Now, a tool like Chameleon is not for the die-hard developer. It's for the instructional designer who wants to create content quickly and efficiently, who wants to get the results out there and iterate. One thing I really like about the platform is its approach to imagery. Let's just head back over here. Add the images back into these cards, and then click into one of them. Here you can see that wherever I've got an image, I can add text, I can add an image, I could add video, audio, an SVG, a PDF, or I could put some code in there. I can change the shape, I can change the fill type, and I can add an image description. That effectively is my alt text right there. I can control whether or not you have zoom and whether or not there is background color when you zoom. But now let's take a look at what happens when I click insert image. My library is empty, but at the top here, you also have Chameleon's library. Now the Chameleon library is full of very simple graphics. You've seen their kind of style as we've added pages in our course, and here we see a kind of very, very teal focused, obviously, set of graphics. But over here, I can change that. I could come in and add in the IDT orange, which is FF8A00, and immediately anything that I go into, I can now make that color. Oh, I forgot to save it. There's the tool's great, but there's no there's no getting around someone just not using it properly. So you can see there, any of these, because they're SVGs, can be recolored straight away into my brand colors, and then I can insert that, let's say. Perfect. Look at that. Lovely. But these graphics are kind of fine. And I'm thinking now, especially of anyone building a portfolio or wanting to learn an authoring tool, or perhaps if you're taking your first steps into e-learning as an organization and you don't want to be investing in bespoke graphics at this stage, these are clean, modern, effective. There's a really good variety of them. They aren't going to set the world on fire, but they are going to give you a starting point. So, Chameleon Creator. Overall, I've been really impressed, and I don't hear enough people talking about authoring tools like this. Stepping away from this particular authoring tool for just a moment, as an industry, we're often very quick to complain when an authoring tool does something we don't like or when there's not much variety available to us, but we have to take a role in fixing that. We have to get involved and support and show interest in new tools when they come out, and not just say, hey, I'm good, I've got Storyline, I've got whatever, I don't need to look at any new tools. We need to be actively showing an interest, getting involved, and ultimately handing over some money to support companies bringing in new ideas. Now, is Chameleon going to be right for everyone? No, absolutely not. But I've found it to be a fantastic tool for rapid development that doesn't look like Rise, because Rise fatigue, just like Zoom fatigue, is very much a thing. So, the good news is they offer a free trial, and I'd really encourage you to go and check it out. It's a fantastic little tool. That inbuilt library is really smart, and the kind of growth of the bank of interactions has been phenomenal. The few occasions where I've had technical difficulties, they have sorted them incredibly quickly. If you're used to kind of large corporate customer service approaches, that's not what you're going to get here. They've resolved everything for me very, very quickly. Now, the issues did come up, and that can be frustrating, but all tools have issues. It's about how they're resolved. For me, again, I don't see this as being a competitor to Storyline and Captivate. It's a totally different tool. This is perfect for anyone who wants to author quickly, iterate, perhaps turn the reins over a little bit to some SMEs with a little bit of support, and probably doesn't want to spend that much time faffing around trying to get it to look good and be responsive. Here, it's taken care of for you. So, if that sounds like you, hey, take a free trial, take it for a spin, maybe it's the right authoring tool for you. I hope you found this video useful as we go into the new year and we consider maybe where our budgets are going. If you want to have a chat about authoring tools anytime, I'm always available. Before you go, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already.